So, FNF mods. They're pretty cool, right? I mean, there's so many FNF mods that go on to become timeless classics that don't need changing at all. And others, yeah, definitely need a redo. Which is why a lot of FNF modders eventually remake their FNF mods, as they've gotten more experience than when they first started. Something that I did myself with my 3-year-old FNF mod. But now that it's been almost 2 years since I remade that mod, it definitely could use another update. So in today's video, I'll be revisiting the remake I made for my now 5-year-old FNF mod, and once again completely transforming it to something way more up to date. Let's begin. Starting off with the update, a lot of FNF mods that I've seen recently have added Pico mixes to their updates, so I thought it'd be cool to make a Pico mix for Grass Pass, since I don't want to just completely remake everything all over again just for an update. So I started with the sketch for Pico, and I decided that instead of giving Pico a round shape like the other duck designs, I give him a more sharper look, resembles base game sprites more. For his gun, I replaced it with the little blaster thing from a spin-off Duck Life game, since I definitely wanted more references to the source material than I made for the last update. And now for his animations. Last time I animated sprites for this mod, I did them manually, but I decided it was about time to actually try and learn how to animate them properly. So I pulled up a YouTube tutorial on how to animate FNF sprites, and I got stuck and I had no idea what I was doing. So after getting help from a friend, we're back on track. Animating the sprites still took a while, but at least it's way more organized than whatever the hell I did last time. Next is the stage. I didn't really know what to put for Pico, so I just picked the city level from Duck Life that I thought looked cool and turned it into a stage. Not for the song. I tried to keep the spirit of the original song by keeping some sound fonts into the mix, but also switched it up with more sound effects playing in the song. Now for the vocals, I had a pretty good time making the Pico vocals. It was cool messing around with his tonals and seeing what I could make from it. But for the duck vocals, I kinda messed up. See, originally the duck's vocals were sampled from a song in Chromacopia. Goated album, by the way. And it sounded fine at first, but as the song went on, the vocals became much more grating to hear. And I didn't want another situation where the duck's vocals sounded bad again. So I just used the whistle sound font that I got from the hotfix update I made, which meant I had to redo the duck's vocals to fit better with the song. I mean, even now the vocals still feel a bit shoehorned in, but it is what it is. Hopefully Pico's vocals are good enough to carry the rest of the song. After adding everything in, we're done with the playable Pico part of the mod. Next was adding in something that's been requested a lot since the mod came out, and I'll gladly listen to any requests since I'm just so very active in my community, which was adding in girlfriend. Now, I don't know why I didn't put girlfriend in the game when I first released it, but I'm sure I had a very good explanation. Oh. Anyways, for the duck design, I like the head and body shape I gave for the Pico sprites, so I decided to also do the same for girlfriend sprites. I also wanted some cool details like girlfriend blushing for a frame, and some extra shading on her hair, which turned out to be kind of a pain to animate, especially since I was still figuring out how to use this animation system. Now, some of you may be wondering, if you weren't practicing on animating, making art, or music, then what the hell were you doing for 8 months without uploading a video? And my response to that is, actually, I don't want to talk about it. Anyways, with the Geo sprites animated in-game, you are done with the small update. Thanks for watching, see you next year, and no. I'm not gonna make a V2. I'm not gonna be like literally every FNF modder and their mother and remake everything just for the sake of remaking it. Okay, fine, I'll remake everything from scratch again. Yes, for a second time. So yeah, I'm gonna be remaking the mod all over again. Why, you may ask? Well, the song's vocals are bad, the art is weird looking, and the mod itself is also just kind of lame to play, with barely anything to do other than play a singular song. So, starting off with a remake of the entire mod was making a V2 of Grass Pass. Now for this version, I kind of wanted a more chill song compared to the V1, as in I actually wanted it to be listenable this time. So I went for a slower vibe for most of the song. For the vocals, I used the same song font I did for the Pico mix, except this time I actually made it fit into the song. And for the BF vocals, I'll just use this regular chromatic, since I ditched that custom BF chromatic I used to use for mods a while ago. Besides, it was a 4 to 5 out of 10 chromatic that weighed down the song a lot, so the switch was justified. Although the song definitely sounds more different from V1, I at least tried to make it sound similar to each other at the end of the song, where I reused some sound fonts and motifs from the old song, while also making it more modern. Next was making new assets for the song, because it ain't no way we're sticking to these sprites. Once again, I used a sharper look I gave to Pico and GF for the BFs and duck sprites. For the duck sprites, I relatively tried to keep the sprites similar to the original ones, while for BF I wanted brand new poses, since the old ones just didn't really make any sense. Like, bro, he doesn't have pockets, how the hell is he doing that with his hand? I also changed his hat to be a hat from a Duck Life game that looked the closest to his cap. Next, I animated the sprites. Now, you may be wondering, am I going to make Mist sprites now? Is it not manually animating BF sprites this time? And to that, I say, yeah, I'm not doing all that. Next was the stage. Now, the original one, I was way too into trying to make the background parallax for some reason, instead of making it actually look like a grassland. So this time I tried to make everything look more natural and closer to the original game. Now, originally, I was just going to keep the throwback section the same, just without the cool math games mockup. But the artist who made the original background offered to redraw it, and oh my god, it's peak. So with the new background looking this good, there was no way I could keep these ugly and old duck sprites. So I made brand new sprites for the duck and BF to try to match the original game as closely as possible. Once again, for the duck sprites, I tried to make them similar to the original ones, while I just did whatever for the BF poses. Finally, I added everything in the game, and boom, Grass Pass V2 is done. But I still felt like the mod was too bare bones. And one aspect of the mod that I really wanted to redo was its presentation, since the original mod was legit just one song in free play. Yep, no custom menu or editing. Literally just threw the song into free play and called it a day. So this time I wanted to not only try to reference Duck Life as much as I can, but also add in gameplay from the game to this mod. So I started off with the main menu. I based it off the first Duck Life game, where you can enter songs, settings, and two very special gameplay aspects. The first one being the running minigame. Yes, I wanted to add in a whole minigame from Duck Life to the mod. First thing I did was make some codes that had the background scroll and parallax to give the illusion of running. Next was adding in an obstacle that would move to the right at a random speed, and then making it so the player can jump over it to avoid getting a game over from colliding with it. So now we have a prototype of the running game. Next was slowly adding actual assets to the game, and adjusting positions and hitboxes as needed. Yes, I made separate hitboxes for the player and the logs, as Psych Engine's sprite overlap function can be a bit janky, so using actual hitboxes can make the collisions more accurate and the minigame more fair. Now there was only a couple things to add left. One of the things I added was coins, since I wanted the player to have a reason to actually play the minigame. Lastly, I added in the death screen, for when you get hit by a log, which tells you your stats for the minigame and if you want to retry or go back to the menu. Now with the running minigame finished, it's time to put those coins into use with the shop. Also, I forgot to mention in the script, you can also gain coins by getting a better accuracy when you finish a song. I don't know why I didn't mention that. So I wanted to add in a shop to not only make the running minigame have a purpose, but to also just make more content for the mod. Since it's only really like 2 new songs, and even then they're both just retakes on the old one. Although making an entire shop system in an FNF mod is a bit more complicated than it seems. Wow, who would have guessed? First, I needed to figure out how to make it so the game would save and keep count of the amount of coins and what the player has unlocked. I was considering using the Psych Engine achievement system for unlockables, but I figured it'd be too complicated and tedious to do that for every unlock and coin. And I'm too stupid to try and use source code to save the player's progress. So I kept looking for solutions, until I found a save data function for Lua scripts in the Psych Engine wiki. Now I've never used this function before, but it turned out to be somewhat simple to use after a bit of tinkering. So with a way to save players' progress, it was time to start adding in things to buy for the shop. For the first 2 slots, I decided to make it so you need to unlock Pico and Girlfriend using coins, since it makes sense that you need to play a decent amount of the mod before being able to play the Pico mix of the song. And for Girlfriend, well, you guys wanted her in the game, so you have to work for it, damn it. For the 3rd slot, I decided that I want the shop system to also connect with the actual gameplay itself in some way, so I made a health and damage reduction system for the 3rd slot. Alright, so in the Duck Life games, you need to feature duck seeds so they have more energy during races. I wanted to do something similar, where if you buy more seeds, then during songs you gain more health for each note you hit, and you take less damage for every note you miss. At the start of the song, the game checks how many seeds you bought using the save data function, and it does 2 things with the seed count. First is damage reduction. When you have no seeds, you take twice the damage you would have normally taken. So I also added a health gain, where the more seeds you have, the more health you gain for every note you hit. Now with the seed system being complete, it was time to finish the shop. With the first 3 slots being filled up, I was left with 3 more extra slots. And that's when I decided to add in one last aspect of Duck Life into the mod, that being customization. As the original game had several cosmetics you could put on your duck, I wanted the same for the mod. Now I figured that trying to make 3 separate cosmetics for BF would be too complicated. because not only does he have a full sprite sheet, but also overworld assets as well. So the next best thing was customizing Girlfriend. Now, since this was kind of a last minute addition, I didn't really make Girlfriend sprites work very well with any extra cosmetics when I was first making it. So it might look a bit janky trying to make the hats fit, but I'm okay with it being not perfect. So it was time to get to work and make 3 different cosmetics for Girlfriends. For each cosmetic, I wanted to base it off something in Duck Life. So I chose the flower hat, a tribal mask, and a chef's hat for the 3 options. Something else I added was GF holding a prop for each hat. Since while I didn't want to make an entire costume for each cosmetic, I felt like having a prop would be good enough for placement. Now for each hat, I had to kind of just place it over GF's head and try to match her movement as closely as possible. Which once again made me glad I didn't animate the sprites manually, like I did for the original mod. And all 3 of the hats are finished. So into the shop they go. Now, I wanted the player to be able to switch or disable the cosmetics at any time, but I didn't really account for that when I was making the shop menu design. So instead, I made the main menu the place, where you can equip or unequip any hats you've bought. It was a better choice than just redoing the shop menu anyways, since it made the menu look a bit less bare bones. And with that, we are finally done with the mod. This mod went from just a simple 1-song remake, to having out another song remake, a new Pico mix, an entire minigame into the mod, a shop system, a health and damage system, and customization for Girlfriends. So it's safe to say that this mod is finally filled with actual content, and remade to be up to date with current FNF mods for real this time. Now without further ado, it's time to showcase the 2 new songs in the mod.
Three, two, one, go!
And that was the end of the mod. It was cool being able to once again remake the mod into something that is not only more content filled and closer to the original source material, but also more unique compared to previous mods I've made, as this mod made me challenge myself a lot more with adding in mechanics or systems, something that I'm not usually able to do for videos. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I'll be releasing the mod alongside this video, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. Also check out the original video if you haven't already, or videos that are similar to this one if you enjoyed this one. That's all for me, so I'll see you in the next video.